right, all right, all right. Welcome to the show, Craig. Craig Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you for having me once again. I know this is the first show on here, but yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
We're here to talk about how to do things differently versus how we did it when we first started up. So let's go through Craig Campbell SEO, where you're at now versus where you started. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so obviously, and I think this will resonate with a lot of people. I stumbled across this SEO shit and kind of enjoyed it. Had a day job, same as probably everyone else, and thought, fuck, I can make money doing this SEO. Well, web design it was at the time. I can be this next big web designer or whatever. Started, making some money, which is quite easy to do. Get a couple of clients under your belt, start making money, leave the day job, boom, you're in the house. You have no fucking clue about anything, but you're doing reasonably well and you've been able to leave your day job, so you think you're King Kong. So I think, for me, I worked freelance for probably 3-4 years or something like that, in the bedroom and all that stuff, and then it came to a point. It wasn't a decision, and I want to make this clear, and I think this is what everyone finds themselves in. So I was starting to become lazy in the house and shit like that. So I got an office, just a very small office that would sit 2 people in a shared business centre, just some crappy little room. And it was just to get out the house, try and be a bit more productive. And as soon as I got that office, I bumped into this guy, and he was working for an agency, and he's like, man, I hate my job and blah, 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 blah. And the guy doesn't sell it properly and everyone keeps leaving. He's doing crap work. And I'm like, come work for me, man, and we'll sort something out. So I hired this sales guy very, very quickly because, I had the office and I was like, man, let's I didn't think let's build an agency. I just thought, let's make more money. This guy seems quite cool, and I hate sales. So before I knew it, I had a sales guy, and he came, and he was doing reasonably well. And before I knew it, I was stressed, and I hired a content writer, and then I hired another content writer. And before you know it, you have a fucking agency. You're sitting there going, like, I'm making this money. I don't have a fucking accountant. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be paying here. I was paying, like, all the money was just coming into my personal bank account. I was paying the office rent, paying the people and all that stuff. And whatever was left was my money as far as I was concerned. But after you do that for 6 months, you're like, shit, like, I'm managing people here. Am I supposed to have rules in here and, stuff like that? Now, I didn't even know what was involved in getting an accountant. So, I was really fresh. But the point I'm trying to make here is, I think many of us in the SEO industry do not set out to be an agency owner. We just fumble around, and before you know it, you're outsourcing bits of your work, if you like. But the first part of that, I would like to say, was a mistake from the get-go. But that's me looking back on it, because I was hiring people locally, whereas people like you may, it depends on when you're entering this agency life. I was doing agency stuff mid-2000, like 2006 or whatever it was, is when I started my agency, and it wasn't as apparent that you could outsource people, stuff to India or China or wherever the hell you could outsource stuff. So I was just hiring local people. But that, for me, from day one, was a massive mistake. And then, I was just getting around, just hiring people, and like, yeah, it might be cool to have another content, and it might be this and might be that. But in my head, I was going down the pub and saying to my mates, like, yeah, I'm in charge of 10 people now. I've got this business with 10 people. The business made no fucking real money, no real profit. It was a stress fest. So that is, how it begun. I didn't set out to be this agency owner. I was just fucking around, as we all were, learning what the hell SEO was, how to make money. Spoke to a gang, thought, I quite like what he says. Let's just get him in, get him on board. I'm confident that we can make more money. And then, even basic things like accountancy, I didn't have a clue. I wasn't paying any PAYE. I was just, transferring money into people's accounts. There was no, and I'm talking about no clue whatsoever. I was so wet behind the ears that, it was, that's the foundation I started on.
So the accountant thing brings back a great memory that I started making money and no clue. I mean, like you said, I mean, I'm just, okay, well, I know I got to like save my receipts and my invoices and all of this stuff. So I get a letter from the IRS here that they're going to audit me, right? And I said, oh, well, I do everything, on the up and up, and I filled out my taxes and all this stuff. So I hired an accountant, right? And a friend of a friend. I mean, he was a terrible accountant in the end, but I didn't know, right? And you're like, well, you own a business, so you're really smart, and I own a business, and I need an accountant. Who do you use? And I asked a buddy of mine, so he refers me to like friend of a friend, whatever. And I show up, and I said, hey, I'm in the middle of an audit, and I just got, here's the letter from the IRS, and I'm getting audited. And he said, well, let's look at all your stuff. Did you bring it? And I said, yeah. I said, I'll be right back. Right. So I go back, and I used to keep my receipts in shoe boxes. Okay. So I come back in with like, I want to say it was like 6 shoe boxes. I don't know. And there was no organization. They didn't even have paper clips around it was just like, here's the shoe box for this one. Here's the shoe box for that one. And every time I'd get a receipt or something, I just put it in whatever the, shoe box was for that. So I bring these shoe boxes in, and the guy looks at me. He said, are you serious? I said, well, yeah, I'm serious. And he said, you might be the dumbest business owner I've ever met. Right? And I was like, well, that's not a good way to, entice somebody to do business with you. I'm about to give you a whole bunch of money. And he said, I get it, and I appreciate it. But he said, you realize you're going to pay me twice as much to do this work just because of how unorganized you are. Right. And so he goes through, and I was nervous going through this whole audit thing. And we get done, or he gets done, and I'm like, God, I'm gonna owe him a whole bunch more money or whatever. But he actually figured out that they owed me money because I didn't file enough deductions here and all this other stuff. And you're bringing up a good point that one, unless you're running a finance company, you shouldn't be doing your own taxes anyways.
Yeah.
And then two, I did the same thing where it's like, gosh, I need this person to do this or this person to do that. And I started hiring everybody, and I realized I was giving away all the money, and I didn't have any left over for me in the end. And I wasn't even hiring good people because, like you said, everything was local, and I had an office, and, I was paying like $38,000 a month in rent for this really fancy office, right? 1 block east of Mall of America. I mean, it's a beautiful office. But I realized that all my money was going somewhere else. So at what point did you have like that realization that you weren't just going to hire a body to do nothing but play on Facebook and pretend that they were working all day?
Do you know what? I can't answer that accurately because I was aware that I didn't have the right people at some point, but I kind of persevered with it, which was a mistake. I think that's a massive mistake in itself. But very, very quickly from the get-go, I knew the quality of what I was doing wasn't great, in terms of the deliverables when you're getting content put in websites and stuff like that. It was more a kind of slapdash approach to SEO, and the work wasn't great. The level of clients wasn't great, but I suffered it because I always just thought, I don't know why, but you just think, like, get through this, next few months and keep the team that we've got and things will get better. Because I was also aware, like, when I was hiring these people, there was no training, there was no processes, there was no videos, there was nothing. I wasn't sitting to the sales guy saying, here's what I want to do, and here's why I want to sell it this way, and give them training. And it's the same with the content writers and stuff like that. So I didn't really blame the people, which is probably why I held on to certain members of that time, those staff members, for longer than I should have, because it was more, I needed content to humor the customers. And even though in my brain, I knew it was going to be fucking dog shit, and these people weren't the right people to be writing the stuff on there. I was just grabbing people off the street and, get them in on minimum wage, and, they hadn't done this stuff before. And yeah, it was just more of a kind of client humouring exercise for a couple of years. And you were growing and you're getting more people, but as you grow and you get more people and you still don't have processes, there comes a point where one day I just sat there going, I'm so fucking ill with stress. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I had staff problems, people phoning in sick. I had people whining about this guy farted and he's stinking the room out. All of these wee bitchy things. And it got to 3, and then I had a few clients giving me shit down the phone. I had to chase up some money. And one day it was 3:00, and I remember I stood up and I felt really dizzy. And I found out later that I had anxiety and panic attacks and shit like that. So I was working myself to the bone, wasn't taking holidays. Even when I was on holiday, I was going to the hotel lobby to do my emails at 7 a.m. so that I could catch some sunshine with my family. And even at that, the phone was going and everything. It was a shambles. And one day, as I say, I sat in that office and I thought, fuck me, you're going to die. Like, my head was about to fall off.
So it wasn't the picturesque, right? So one of the things that we see, and I did it too, it's like, I'm going to do this the best. I'm going to be the best at this, and I'm going to make it look easy. And here's the next Rolls Royce that I'm going to buy, or Bentley, or whatever it is. And, these dreams and aspirations of this is the end result of where I want to be. But, it didn't start off that way, right? No. It didn't start off that way for me. I know it didn't start off that way for you. But, one of the things that I want to do with this channel is kind of rope people in, right? And make people realize that it's going to take some serious work. And I'm about to pose a question. So you hired a sales guy first.
Yeah.
And I did that too. I thought that, sales, right? And as long as we have the sales and we have the money coming in, everything else is relative. Everything else can happen tomorrow, next week, whatever that looks like. That was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hired a salesperson, and the salesperson didn't have the assets in place to be able to perform the functions of getting the sale.
Yeah.
If you had to do it all over again, and you had 30 days, your first 30 days,
mm-hmm.
What would you have done in your first 30 days that would have put you into a position to be successful? Right? Because you woke up 3 years later.
Yeah.
You're already moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? And now you're just trying to pick up everything behind you and drag it in with you.
Yeah.
If you had a 30-day window and you said, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the first 30 days to put myself in a position to be successful for the next 11 months or 12 months, what would that be?
So one of the biggest failures for me was I built that business initially around my skill set. So I was the SEO guy. I hired the sales guy to sell websites, so I had to get a developer. But then with a vision of when that process happens, I'm going to get all the SEO money, monthly recurring. Now, basically, then I get a content writer and I get everything else. But the business was all based around me and the skills that I had. And I was working in the business, not on the business. So from day one, I would be not doing anything. I would be figuring out what we were offering. And, I'm pretty sure that you will probably agree with me, and many people will agree. I started off and I was selling websites. I was selling pay-per-click. I was selling all sorts of shit, logo design, business card design, the full works. I wouldn't touch anything other than what I know and fully understand. I don't want involved in no web design bullshit, nothing like that. So from day one, I would not offer services that I wasn't in full control of. Now, some people can still do that successfully and outsource it, but I wouldn't. And two, take yourself out of the business. Do not build a team or a business around what you're good at. Now, you might say that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but you have to work on the business, not in it. Everything that you do as a digital agency can be outsourced. And again, if at a 30-day window, don't hire local. There's much more value from, right, and this is not even me using Filipino people or Indian people or low countries. I can get a good PR campaign done for $400. Now, if I have to get a PR guy into my office and he's a PR specialist, he's going to want 40 or 50 grand a year. Now, and he'll probably be scratching his balls and, skiving and $5 dying a year and all these days off, and it's just a whole load of stress. Whereas I've got guys who deliver fast, bang, 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 outsource to, and that's to American people that I use for PR, by the way, not some ropey, third world country or anything like that where the standard is really, really poor. I'm talking about good quality services are out there. So, find the right team, find the right processes. Do not work in your business. I think a big part of being able to scale a business where I also failed was, one, don't hire local. Two, don't hire a sales guy. You don't need a sales guy. You do the fucking sales and, build a team, delegate. But the biggest thing is getting processes in place as well in order to scale. Now, you can replace a content writer, a PR guy, the on-page guy, the site audit guy, just like that. They can do it the way you want it to do if your SOPs are in place. You just hire another guy and say, here is how I want you to look at a website. This is the process that I want you to follow. Go ahead and do it. So you don't have to worry about that guy not turning up tomorrow or, this local guy, putting his feet up when you go out for your lunch break or whatever. So get your processes in place. I think I can't emphasize enough that was a massive, massive failure. Now, my agency ended up having to be, I didn't sell it. I actually went bankrupt. The wheels fell off it in the end. I had HMRC, which is the tax people, looking for money, the staff wanting money, and there just wasn't enough to pay them all, and the business just broke. But that was my fault. I was hiring the wrong people, not firing people, wasn't delegating anything. I also had this control freak mentality. I don't know where it came from, but every content writer I had, the content had to come to me. I would then, put it on the website and optimize it. Why did I do that? Why the bloody hell did I do that? Now, that's a massive mistake in my part, and it's called being a control freak. You have to, and lots of guys that start agencies have to relinquish that control freak stuff. Give that, responsibility to the guy over there who's doing the content. Train them and just live a easier life, So those are some of the things I would put in place in the first 30 days. But as you say, hiring a sales guy is probably the last thing you want to do.
Yeah. You said a whole bunch of things. I mean, the outsourcing, I fell into the same trap of hiring unproductive people, the wrong people, realizing that I just wasn't moving the chain. So I'm going to ask you, do you hire a content writer or a graphic designer first? Chicken or the egg?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would go for a content writer first.
Okay, why?
Because I think even if you had, a little budget or you were just starting out, content is key. Now, it's key to get out there. A shitty page with content on it can still bring in leads. Mm-hmm. Do you need a fancy graphic? Of course, fancy graphics are going to sell better and look better. But for me, nothing happens. The wheels don't even start moving. It's like having a car with no wheels. Sure. So that, as far as I'm concerned, for that reason, I would hire, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of if you look at it like a car, the content is the wheels and the engine. Mm-hmm. And the graphics are, the tinted windows and the alloys and stuff like that. The thing can still go and work without that. So that's
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to give out the first carrot to everybody. So content can be farmed out, but at the same time, good content is hard to find, right? Is that an agreeable statement?
Yep.
Okay, so the second part in the carrot or the cookie or the nugget or whatever you want to call it is there's plenty of programs out there, whether it's Design Pickle or Penji or I don't know, there's a zillion of them out there that you can do a monthly subscription fee to them that isn't even contractually bound and gain a designer, right? So the trick is finding a designer that can keep up with the content writing. Now, I didn't do that. Okay. What turned into my agency was probably 60, 70%, or 60, 70% content heavy. I mean, we were pounding out content every single day. I went the design route first.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't even go the design route first. I made the mistake of never building my agency around me and my abilities. I went after marketing first, marketing automation. And that's like this ocean. I tell everybody there's 6 million businesses in the United States, and I think 2 million of them are marketing agencies.
Yeah.
They're all doing your pay-per-click and marketing automation, and it's just a dog with fleas. But so I went from marketing, and then I moved from marketing into website design. And then finally, what the hell is that guy's name? Matt, the guy from Google, or Matt Cutts.
Yeah.
Ended up having a conversation with him, which was a very brief conversation. And he said, why are you doing what you're doing? And I was still in web design mode. And then we'd sell, website marketing, advertising, SEO, all of this other stuff. But it all started with the website. I said, because that's the nucleus. He said, that's not what your strengths are. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you're good at like connecting the dots over here, and that's what you should be selling. And then do the website design as like a peripheral. If they need web work done, well, you can do that. Or if they need marketing or whatever that is. That was the aha moment. And I'll be honest with you, Craig, I failed for a longer period of time than you did. No shit. Because we went from zero and barely, I was hiring all the wrong people. Probably the first 3 years, I didn't make anything. I mean, it was like, I think the first year I paid myself, I want to say it was $4,800 for the entire year. Okay. No shit. You know what I mean? $4,800. And then I think the next year I made like $7,000. And then the third year I made like, I don't know, let's say 12,000, or it was more than that. I paid myself $1,600 a month, the third year of business. And then after the third year, and I lied to myself. I kept telling myself I was reinvesting in the business, but in reality, I just wasn't running a business very well.
Yeah.
And then I started making a little bit of money. And then I had this aha moment that I had, it was like, I don't even remember. It was like $200 and some odd $1,000 a month in payroll. A month, right? I'm like, where's all the money going? Well, it's, and then I started like honing in on people, and I'm like, that person isn't doing their job, right? If that person's only doing, their productivity is like 25, 30%. And I started firing people, and I wasn't missing them, right? Because they actually weren't doing anything. In the secret, Craig, is I am the worst business owner in the world. Okay. And I tell everybody, I don't just take everything that you watch me do and do the complete opposite. And you will be more successful, because I never wanted to be anybody's boss. I never wanted to hold people accountable. I never wanted to have to hold people accountable. I wanted everybody to show up and do their job. And then finally, I would say so probably, I want to say it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we had a good year. We almost broke $1 million. Okay. In net, right? Almost broke $1 million. And then last year it was 8.2, right? Oh. So when I finally figured it out, and if you do the math, I fucked off for the first 2/3 of my whole agency career, not doing it right. And then the last 3 years is when I find all of the puzzle pieces went into place and I finally figured it out.
I think the way I would look at that kind of situation now, the figures you're saying in terms of what you paid yourself, listen, I wasn't paying myself great money either. I was earning peanuts and kidding myself on that, the money's going back in the business. And I was just quite happy to try and remain afloat, if anything. And I think, as you say, you've got to, there comes a time where you realize you just wake up. But what I would say is that's like your apprenticeship, that first X amount of years where you're getting in, you don't even know what a fucking accountant is, what you charge or anything to getting clients and doing all that stuff. And the way I look at it, I don't get angry or pissed off with anyone because I know the buck lies with me, but I see it as an apprenticeship. As far as I'm concerned, and I paid a lot of money for that apprenticeship, and like you, would not consider myself to be a guy that's set out to be anyone's boss. I was just fucking around and found myself being someone's boss, and I don't like all that confrontation and having to whip people into shape, and fucking even things like running an agency. You have to think about, if I'm hiring females, we need to get a sanitary bin in the office. I don't want to be thinking about that shit. Do you know what I mean? I'm not that guy. These are things that obviously over time you realise you've got to do and, to tick all these boxes. But there is an apprenticeship, and I don't think, you can get mentors and you can get advice from guys and all that stuff. But I think ego stops you from listening to people sometimes as well. People are going, fuck, I'm not listening to Bradley. I'm doing it my way. What does he know? And I think as a young person, you have that in your locker when you think you know best. And that's where that's the killer in the whole process, is thinking you know best and you know all. And there just becomes a time maybe where you mature and go, this ain't about, having the big fancy office and the X amount of staff and all that, because you just see red and start doing things that eventually make you a lot more money.
Well, let's switch gears just a little bit, because I want to talk about sales presentation for a moment, because a lot of people just screw that up. And in my aha moment, I was meeting with about a little less than $100 million a year company. And it was my time to go sit at the big table, at the big boy table at Thanksgiving or whatever you want to call it, right? And I went through I spent like 3 days going through what my sales presentation was going to be. And then all of a sudden, I show up and in my mind, I pulled off that sales presentation to a T. You know what I mean? I was spot on. I had engagement. I had heads nodding, yes, 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 right? And I was looking over, I mean, this was, $100 million a year company. You're not meeting with one person to get the job. You're meeting with executives. I mean, they're in a position to have real smart people that are listening to you. And at the end, this guy, I won't call him my name because he's still connected to me, but he looked at me and he said, "So what?" At the end of my presentation, 2 words. He said, "So what?" And I said, "Well, what part do you have?" I didn't know him from Adam at that point. I said, "What part do you not understand?" He said, "I understand all of that." He said, "You didn't actually tell me what your abilities were. You just quoted a whole bunch of quotes from really smart people and talked about processes, but you didn't actually tell me what you were going to do." Right? And I just, I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, yeah, I talked about marketing. I talked about core KPIs, all kinds of stuff, but never once did I say, here's what we're actually going to do to move the chains.
Yeah.
Right. So was there a certain point when you actually just looked at your sales process and said, wow, this sucks? Or somebody said, hey, by the way, you're like you're the internet. You're telling me everything I can find on Wikipedia or Search Engine Journal or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any of those moments that were just slap in the face?
Oh, listen, tons of slaps in the face. I've been slapped all around the face.
But I mean a good slap in the face.
Yeah.
Like set off a light bulb and said,
yeah.
wow.
But yeah, there's been so many times where I've done stuff and not presented well, and overcomplicated things and overthought it, and you know what it's like. And for me, something does strike, and it's still something that I carry with me to this day. Is I'm normally not a bullshit approach type of guy. I'm not that fluffy corporate talking shit kind of guy that fluffs everything up. I'm normally very direct, but I became someone I wasn't at certain times when I was talking to big companies and stuff like that when I had an agency. And once you strip that BS away, and even when people listen to me talking on stage at conferences or on webinars and stuff, they'll say, you know what, he's actually quite a straight talking guy. He cuts out the bullshit. And I think, again, that comes with maturity. You just say, do you know what, I actually don't give a fuck what your company is or who the fucking hell you are, or how much you turn over. This is how this shit works, and this is how I'm going to work, and you can take it or you can fuck off. And that's the kind of approach that I started to have. And that's also quite a Scottish thing. Like, Scottish people are quite outspoken in that way. And I think I've had a lot of credit and a lot of kudos from people over the years. People used to laugh at me, actually, when I first started speaking, going, oh, they're the guy with the tattoos and the shorts on. Now people say, there's Craig. And I was able to install my own presence. I'm comfortable going on stage in shorts and a t-shirt. I don't want to wear a suit. It's not me. I don't feel comfortable. I feel nervous with a suit on. Like, it's just not my style. And I dropped all of that stuff and decided that, do you know what, if you don't want to work with me or respect the experience that I've got, then go fuck yourself. And I've done that with companies, massive companies as well, and the owners have come back saying, do you know what, I fucking love you. I love the way you talk. I've had proper full-on debates and not fights as such, but proper heated conversations with guys that are worth millions more than me. But they've always come back to me and said, you know what, I don't want a yes man. I want someone like you who's actually got a backbone and some bollocks to do stuff. And I think, and it's probably why I quite actually like you, Bradley. We've got a good connection. You're that type of guy as well, where you call a spade a spade. There's no fuckery or anything like that. And if not that we've ever had a problem, but we would probably argue it out and go, do you know what, he had a point, fair play to him. And I think most people in the world can resonate with someone like that, and it allows me to be myself as well. Because if I don't agree with you, I'll tell you I don't agree with you. Or if I think you've done something wrong, you've done something wrong, and we say it and get over it. And that has carried me through well. So I would say I was being someone I wasn't when I was doing that whole, going to somewhere, sitting with a suit on and pitching all this fucking nonsense. And in latter days, actually, we do consultancy for a local council who give funding to businesses, and we actually act as a consultant where the council don't, for years have been ploughing money into digital on behalf of new businesses, but that money was being frittered away in overpriced websites and bullshit SEO and all the usual stuff. And they actually hired us, and we just sit there now and we're just like looking at these presentations going, mate, you just spoke one lot of fucking pish there. Like, you're adding Zoopim chat to a website and you want to charge another $4,000. Fuck off. And that's, the council love all that stuff as well, because these guys are pitching all this fluffy stuff. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll market this, market that, and whiteboard this, and talking a whole lot of actual bullshit. And then
talking in circles.
He says, so what? Like, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, who's writing the content here? If you just went in and said, listen, dude, your content fucking sucks ass. We need some backlinks. I'm going to build a tiered link building structure. I'm going to fucking do this and that. And, people would be like, that is what people want to hear. They don't want to hear that fuckery. There's too much fucking around.
So
over.
I learned one of my aha moments, and I actually made a video. It's called the informal sales approach, right? And yeah, I'm not trying to encourage you to watch it. I mean, you watch whatever you want, but I talk about creating this informal sales approach. And the way that actually came about is I was just tired. And I actually decided that I was going to blow a prospective client off. You know what I mean? That I didn't even care at that point if they said yes.
Mm-hmm.
But they were referred to me, and I end up in their office. And, I always, whenever I counted on somebody else to be the successful salesperson, I was always disappointed. So I took on that sales role. And I walked in, and instead of pitching them all of these things, I pitched them their company by looking at their website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no shit, this is like the most brilliant. I mean, this might be one of the most brilliant things that I ever accidentally came up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I created this presentation and I went through their website and I said, okay, here's what I see. Does that speak for your brand and your company? Is that the message that you're trying to convey to all of your visitors? And, you have the CEO, no, right? Like, as far as I can tell, you're about this. Is that the core focus and functionality of your company? Is that the message? No, that isn't. And I said, great. Well, I want to help you with all of that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how much does it cost? How are you going to do that? And I said, well, let me put something together. What are the things that you actually want to convey? So going through the sales pitch process, I didn't have to come to the table with, I'm going to do this and this and this. I did this informal thing where I was like, here's what I see. Is that what you're trying to do? And
Yeah.
nobody would agree that that was their perfect messaging, that was their
Yeah.
perfect solution. And then they would give me all their pain points. And then they would turn around, because I hadn't asked for a sale. I hadn't told them this is what I'm going to do. I hadn't stepped all over myself. I would set up a meeting for a week later or 2 weeks later or whatever. And it was super informal. And I knew that they were going to bid me. They were going to go out and get bids, and they were going to call marketing agencies, and internally all of those wheels were going to be moving, or gears were going to be moving, and so knew so who owned an agency, and let's get them in and see what their thoughts are. And they were going to come in with that standard sales process of, you need to do this, you need to do that, you should be doing this, you suck. And then I'd come in at the end and I'd be the last guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, hey, good to see you guys again. In my sales presentation is way different than what people would imagine it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it would allow me to just cut through and get to all of the pain points. And I'd say, well, you mentioned that this is one of your pain points, and this is how I'm going to solve it. And here's the cost. And I had such a detailed sales presentation because they told me what to sell them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's simplifying. It's actually a joke that it's that simple. But I think in general, it's just common sense. Like, what would you want sold to you? If someone came to you, with the old fluffy process, you'd throw them out the door anyway. And I think, that's what you need to think about as well. And I don't know where, as I say, like the previous stuff that we've probably both done, it's just been really bad in terms of pitching people. I don't know where that crap comes from, where you have to overemphasize everything and make yourself sound so fucking busy, or creative and a jack of all trades. I don't know where that comes from.
It's foolish. It's trying to build up. And if you go to social media, it's like the Twitter account that they're following 50 people, but they want 5 million to follow them.
Yeah.
It's part of this social hygiene. It somehow arrogance and selfishness has set into us, into humanity, right? And we have to realize that we have to start realizing how selfish we are. And in order to actually move forward, we have to come to the realization that we have to stop being selfish.
Yeah.
So and that's part of the agency hacker thing, was I was like, I don't know, I just want to have fun. So, I'm tired, right? And I'm not tired in a bad way. I'm not physically tired. I'm tired, if that makes any sense. So I started doing the other channel, and I was like, yeah, well, there's so many different things that we could talk about and blah, blah, blah. And then I said, I think I need to give back. right? And I need to create positive change, and I need to just create these little steps and show people that, if they're willing to learn, I'm going to give it to them for free.
Yeah.
Right. And never will I ask them for a penny. You know what I mean? The only thing that I'm coming up with and I'm pushing out is, God, I really want to start the hashtag nerd herd. So as I start getting followers on the show, that's the nerd herd. You know what I mean? My whole goal in the end is literally teach them a few things that helps them be successful. And maybe I'll sell them a shirt that says hashtag nerd herd and start a hashtag out of it. You know what I mean? And that's about it.
Yeah. Listen, I think I can, again, resonate with that. I think there comes a time where you're like, do you know what? I actually do fancy helping people out and doing something, with the experience that you've got. And I think it's a great thing, because we're all too proud to admit, I'd have loved to have had a show like this to watch when I was starting out. There just wasn't. YouTube wasn't out when I started. But I'd have loved to have sat down with guys or went for a beer with them and talk about pain points and stuff like that. But you don't think that there is guys out there that are going to share that stuff. And there probably isn't a lot of guys that will, admit that they fucked up. How many guys have you seen? I've got the Lambo and I've done it all right. And I went from being homeless to a fucking billionaire in 2 years and all of this kind of crazy quick journey. None of us really had that. And, we've all had to grind it out and maybe the spot of luck along the way, and rob Peter to pay Paul and been fucked up the ass off robbing staff and bloody everything. We've all had it, and I think there comes a time where I think you do get more satisfaction out of maybe helping others. Certainly for me, I've helped a number of local people build their businesses and stuff free of charge. Like I don't charge them or anything. I just get a good sense of pride being able to, make that guy's journey shorter than the crap that, I've had to do. I'm 40 now, and, I've been in this industry 18 years. Now, looking back, I could probably get to where I was or I am now in the space of probably 3-4 years. If I had that knowledge and information. And yeah, it is what it is. But again, I've had, 15, no, maybe not 15, probably, 13 years of absolute chaos, disruption, mistakes, and stress. And also that feeling, and you resonate massively with this when you're, you mentioned, you've got this payroll and all that stuff. You've been shitting yourself because the money's not dropped in the bank yet from a customer, and you're going, how the fuck am I going to pay everyone on Friday? Or whatever. You're just like, it's horrible. Absolute horrible.
Yeah, it's I think at one point I had all of this stuff going, and I was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. And that was my breaking point, 20 hours a day. And I was so stressed out that within the 4 hours that I was getting sleep, I would wake up multiple times physically ill from stress, right? And you were talking about the anxiety and the anxiety attacks and all of this other stuff. And then finally, it just hit me that I needed to, if you're in that position, you aren't right about everything. You aren't the best at everything, because the people who are really good aren't working 20 hours a day, 140 hours a week, and waking up, while they're sleeping to go throw up because of stress, right?
Yeah.
So the goal of this is to try and maybe not put the people who are watching this into that position, right? Maybe give them a few tools, a few pieces of advice that may give them, I don't know, a 19-hour workday.
Yeah, you're only getting that little percentage better than we got. You still got to chuck up and stuff like that in the middle of the night, or you've not formed your proper business apprenticeship.
Well, and it's funny because even to this day, everybody, the ongoing joke of my very personal close friends or close personal friends is anytime I see them, they'll say, "What is today?" And I'll say, "Why?" I never know what day of the week it is because it doesn't matter. I still work every day.
Yeah.
Right. But the nice part is if I decide that I'm going to take tomorrow off, I don't care what day that is either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's Wednesday, but I'm going to work on Sunday. I'm going to work on Saturday or whatever that is. And if I need groceries from the grocery store, I don't go on Saturday. I go when I need them, whether it's Monday or Friday or who knows. But it's a day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
So if you had to go back to like the one single nugget from Craig Campbell that could definitively and positively change a new business owner's trajectory or whatever you want, path, what would it be?
Automate what you can. Automate what you can. Now, I've spoke to guys in this industry, and they will not take on board whether it's a good tactic, strategy, or whatever, unless it can be automated. They will not fucking do it. There's guys out there with Python scripts and all sorts of other weird shit. You know these guys anyway. There's people out there doing the weirdest shit on autopilot. They've got everything that you can do as a human being on a laptop can pretty much be automated. And even your invoicing. Now, at the start of my career, I used to hate invoicing and reporting. Now, I used to make up this shitty Word document and, and it was all manually done, me churning it out, making up fucking fake invoice numbers and everything. It was just a mess, right? And then I would, start to pull together some shitty report, using the tools that I was using. And it was just a mess. It was all manual work. It took me like a week of the month to do that stuff. Now, go buy something like QuickBooks, Free Agent, something like that, which is you put the customer's details in and you can say, bill this dude, $1,000 a month. And if he doesn't pay on that date, send him reminders every 3, 5, 7 days. You can set all of this stuff up. Automate that shit. Automate your reporting. You can get APIs from stuff and, go into Google Data Studio, make it look as fancy as you want. Automate the shit out of that stuff. Why would you ever sit and do that stuff? What else takes time? Content. Can that be automated? Yes and no. Outsource it, whatever. But automate what you can. And you will not need to work any more than 3 hours a day.
I'm going to share. So I am in that process where, as a hobby, I'll build out a site and I'll try and automate everything, like 100%. And one of my next projects, this is a hobby project, so I don't care if it ever makes money, right? It's just something fun to do. But I won't give the exact domain, but I bought this website that if you pay $1, you get a fortune, right? You get your fortune, and it's randomized. And I thought about it. I said, how many people go eat Chinese food and pay $10 because in the end, they just really wanted a fortune cookie?
Yeah.
Right? To have good luck or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I started loading like 10,000 different fortunes, and here's your lucky lottery numbers, just like a fortune cookie. And I'm going to build out this site that's all automated that just does a random poll that when they pay the $1, well, here's your fortune, random fortune. And just for fun, just to see if I can do literally 100% automation.
Yeah.
100%. And I don't care if it gets one sale a year or it never gets a sale. It's really just, but from the SEO side, I'll challenge you on this. If you look up using any of our tools that we use, online fortune cookie, there's a shit ton of traffic for it, and there's no good results, and the competition is zero.
Yeah.
So why not? I'm just going to build it, build up a little 6-page website and push it out there because a whole bunch of people are looking for it.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Listen, I think, you can have relative success. I'm not going to say what niches I operate in publicly, but I'm in a niche that's not that competitive, but there's so much search for it. And, you know, mass page builders and automating the shit out of stuff just gets me so much traffic. It's actually a joke. You know, I pinch myself every day going, I fucking can't believe this. It's honestly frightening. You know, you've just got to think cleverly about stuff as well, and you know, look for those gaps in the market and automate the shit out of it. You know, the one thing, as I would say, is I spent so many days stressing over doing things manually because I wanted to you know, I wanted control and I wanted things to look the way I wanted them to look. But when I look back at the reports I was sending people, they were absolutely dog shit. And I felt the need to pile in all this information. And I know in hindsight, people used to come back to me saying, Craig, I don't even read your reports. And I'm like, so I'm spending a week of a month piling all this bullshit in there when I could have just done that automatically, just fed any old bullshit in there. And yeah, it was a bit of a kick in the teeth. And you know, there'll be certain things within marketing that you know does need human, human overview or you know a bit of a human touch. But automate everything you can is what I would say. There's guys out there I know, you will know, making a fortune, and they barely, you know, do a 3-hour day. Do you know what I mean? It can be done.
Well, I think you have to get into a position where you have stuff to automate first.
Yeah. We don't know what to automate at the start. But yeah, obviously it's easy to say automate this and automate that. But yeah, I think just realize that stuff is out there. Don't be scared to spend money. Like, is where that's another thing actually. You know, but you're not always scared. Like, I don't want all these tools and stuff like that. It costs me money, so I'll just use one tool. And you know, you're just scared to spend money, and you're like, if I actually spent another $200 and had this other part or other tool, this whole process would be 10 times easier. Don't be scared to spend. One thing you cannot buy back. No amount of money, no money that Bradley could ever dream of making can buy you time back. So fuck that 20-hour day stuff. No money can buy time. So figure out the secret to automation.
I actually had I challenge everybody that nobody works more than I do. Right? And that's an open challenge that I make to everybody. But I was on a phone call one day, and my assistant, Katie, the person I was on the phone with, said, I work harder than you. I work more than you, blah, 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 whatever it was. And it was some baseless, arrogant statement that he made. And I didn't even have to correct him because my assistant said, no, you don't. Right? This dude sends me emails at 2:30 in the morning on Saturday of stuff to just for next week. You know what I mean? Because I don't expect anybody to work the same hours that I do, et cetera, et cetera. But this guy had actually made the point that he had tried to get a hold of me the day before, and that was one of those days. It was a Tuesday or Thursday or whatever that I just decided, yep, I've done enough, and I'm taking tomorrow off. Now, the secret is that I generally take 2 to 3 days off per month. Could you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you want to do that?
Take 2 or 3 days? No, I want to take 3 days off a week, maybe 4. So yeah, I want a lot more than that.
So I'm trying to actually force myself to take more time off. But I tell everybody that the Army created a monster in me. You know what I mean? Because I was working 24 hours a day. I mean, I was always on call. I was always ready to deploy. I'd get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had my go bag, and I was off in wherever, right? Some desert, usually sucking up sand. But either way, they created this monster in me of like, you know, this idea that I could never find myself in a position that somebody had outworked me, that somebody had done more. And I think that's a pitfall too. I'm actually trying to lead into a carrot for you that the time off is probably as valuable or more valuable than putting in that work. Because even with me, 2-3 days off a month, which between you and me, Craig, I used to work 90 days straight and then take 3 days off.
Jeez. That, I think, I mean, obviously you've got your reasons behind that, you know, the military thing and, you know, that kind of being your upbringing. You may have a touch of, you know, some ADHD or OCD or whatever you want to call it. You know, some people are crazy and you know, just want to work all the time. They can't relax. But for me, I get into business so that I can have an easy life. This is the way I look at it. And I don't want to be working like a dog. And that's why, you know, I wanted to be my own business owner, you know, from a young boy or whatever, you know, thinking I'd love to be my own boss one day. Why do you want that? It's to be able to spend time with your family or go and relax at the pool or go away for the day and take your kid to the zoo, whatever it may be. And that, you know, for me, my aim is to try and do a 4-day working week. I don't bust my balls every day. I have processes. I'll churn out my live shows, podcasts and stuff like that, and I get everything done. And I've still got time to spare. And, you know, I'm not adverse to jumping on here. You know, I was finished up for the day. It's 9:15 at night here. I wasn't doing anything. I'm on self-isolation, and I was like, fuck it. So I'm not scared of doing work.
Sure.
But it's a choice thing for me. If I want to come on and share some stuff with you, I can. But equally, you know, I don't. And I think for me, having came from that other side where I couldn't sleep at night, you know, worrying about how I was paying people, or, you know, I had that anxiety stuff and chucking up in the middle of the night, and I ended up in medication. And my doctor said to me, Craig, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've not got any money. I don't have any money worries. I've not fell out with the wife. I'm not homeless. I'm not, you know. And he's like, but there must be something. And I'm like, my business, man, like I can't switch off. And, you know, I went to a hypnotherapist to try and relax. Now, a guy like you, actually, Bradley, I would imagine, you know, with your military stuff and just some of the stuff you said, you probably are not the type of guy that would go to a pool and just lie down for 8 hours and sunbathe, are you?
No,
Like,
and that's why I tell everybody, don't try and keep up with me.
mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, even if you go back to, I don't remember the guy's name. I'll share something real personal with you. But when I got out of the military, I didn't really have any skill. My skill was to put warheads on foreheads, right? I mean, I calibrated rocket guidance systems, and there really wasn't a call for that, right? So,
Yeah.
so I went into like car sales, and I really sucked at car sales. No, I didn't, but and then I ended up driving a truck. Okay, I'm about to share a terrible story with you. All right, so I started driving a truck, and the reason being, there were a lot of reasons. I won't share those, but it was great physical exercise, and I was hand unloading a truck, and I was built like a brick shithouse. And, you know, this is back in 2000, I don't know, 2 or whatever it was. So the place that I worked for, which is now owned by McLean, which is a huge trucking company here, they realized that I didn't work the same way other people worked. Okay, so I'm gonna put some math in front of you. I'm hand unloading trucks, and generally a normal person would work 4 days a week. They'd drive all over, you know, to different cities, hand unload food at restaurants, and then they drive the truck back, and then they'd take 3 days off. But in my mind, I was like, well, I really don't have any, I don't watch TV. I don't do all the stuff that normal people do, right? So I ended up running, you have to do the math on this. I would drive in a week 3,600 miles, hand unload 2 trailers at 16 stops, and pick up 2 backhauls of freight coming back to, at the time, Columbus, Ohio. And I was doing the work of 3 drivers. Illegal as hell, right? It broke every federal law. And I did that for a couple of years. But so I had a dispatcher at the time who would fill out my logbooks, because if I got pulled over by the police, I had to find the color for the day, right? They were all cooked books. And then I had another dispatcher that would do my laundry. And every week when I would come back to the distribution center, I would pick up my clean laundry and drop off a new bag because I was doing 3 people's jobs, right? So they ended up giving me this, his name was Ray McCrary. Now I remember the guy's name, but they said, hey, you're working too hard. We're going to make you a trainer, and then we're going to give you the new guys, and you can train them to be as good as you are, right? So I pick up this guy, Ray McCrary, and I don't know, over like 2 weeks. Actually, the first day I said, hey, dude, I've been doing this for a while. And he was a big, big dude, right? Like built like a linebacker, a football linebacker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, man, I know I'm a short guy. I'm only 5'7", and, you're a big 6-foot dude or whatever, but don't try and keep up with me because I do this every day, right? And literally we would show up and you're just throwing cases at employees as they're trying to stack them on dollies. And as fast as you can get it done, you're picking up time and moving on to the next thing. So I trained them for like, I don't know, I want to say like 4 weeks. Okay. And this dude dropped off day one. He tried to keep up with me. And then the next morning he woke up, he couldn't move. He couldn't physically move because his muscles were locked up. Right. So I drug him into the shower and had to like have him take a hot shower to work his muscles loose. Right. So anyways, I trained him for like 4 weeks and he lost like 36 pounds or 37 pounds or something like that. And he was really getting into shape because he was trying to keep up with me, etc. And so anyways, he was on his own. Right. And he was ready for his first route and all this other stuff. And he didn't show up for work for his first route. Okay. And the dispatchers called me and said, well, your boy Ray didn't even show up for work. He was no call, no show. So I called his girlfriend and I said, hey, is Ray there? Or I called him and his girlfriend answered, is Ray there? No, he went to a barbecue. What? You can't show up for work in that industry. You don't just call off sick. You need a doctor's note.
Yeah.
You not only no called, no showed for your route, but you're at a barbecue, and if you're healthy enough to go eat some barbecued chicken, you better get your ass to work and start working, right? So I said, you tell him to call me when he gets home. Okay, no excuses. I don't want to hear any bullshit. I want to hear from Ray as soon as he gets home. The day goes on. The next day happens. Nikki, the dispatcher, calls me, says, hey, Ray no call, no showed again at work. What are you training these people on? I said, I don't know. So I called Ray back and his girlfriend answers. I said, you put Ray on the phone, right? And I'm trying not to do the whole drill sergeant mode on these shows. But I said, you put Ray on the phone. I said, I told you that he was supposed to call me as soon as he came home yesterday. She said, well, I told him. And I said, why didn't he call me? She said, well, when he got home, I told him and he went and got in a shower and then he had a heart attack and he died.
Ooh.
Sounds terrible. I shouldn't be laughing. But I told the guy, don't keep up with me. Well, it turned out he had a heart defect or problem or whatever. And he'd lost all this weight over the course of a month trying to keep up with me, the little guy, put so much strain on his heart that he ended up dying.
Man.
And I remember that the supervisor came back to me and he's like, hey, we can't let you train people anymore. I said, okay, I get it. And he said, well, you do realize that you literally trained somebody to death. Right? But that's that military carryover, right? Because it's like, okay, for me, it isn't really work. It's I don't watch TV. You have a little boy, you have a wife to hang out with. I choose. My son is grown. Most days I really don't like my girlfriend anyways. So for me, it's like, well, am I going to turn on the TV or am I just going to work on something? And I'm just always working. But my point is don't be like me. You know what I mean? Because I don't necessarily have to work the way I do, but I love working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love doing these shows.
No, you're right. Like, you can't compete with some guys, as you say. Even if you look at sportsmen and or whatever, you look at a guy like Muhammad Ali, for example, if someone was trying to keep up with that guy, you'd need to be fucking crazy, you know, because these guys, I mean, there's something, with the greatest respect, because he's one of my biggest heroes, but, you know, he's not all there. You know, the guy was as crazy as you. You know, there's something over and above the normal human being going on in certain people. And, you know, Muhammad Ali or some of these other guys, you just can't compete with monsters or animals like that. You know, they're just a different species altogether. And obviously, if you're doing that stuff and you've done it for X amount of years, you know, you're going to have that same... you already have that crazy mentality anyway. So, yeah, I think, you know, everyone's different. You know, I would probably keel over. When you say that story, I'll give you one story of mine. When I was 16 years old, one of my first ever jobs, my mate worked for a company that used to dig up the tarmac, the roads and stuff like that. And we used to put pipes in. Now, I worked there for fucking 2 days. Now, my job was to hold on to that jackhammer thing that dug up the ground or shovel the fucking shit out while my mate done the jackhammer thing. And after day one, I lay in a bath at home thinking, oh my fucking God, like when you're saying that guy couldn't move, I remember lying there going, fuck me, everything hurt. And I went there for day two and I was like, fuck this is not for me. And I think, yeah, you know, some people are built for that stuff, some people are not. A 16-year-old kid, I wasn't going to go and try and play with these guys that are, you know, there was old guys there, you know, 45 or 40 or 50 or whatever, who, you know, had arms like Popeye. And you're just thinking as a young kid going, if that old guy can do it, you know, come on. You know, look at me, I'm 16, I'm the king of the world here. And Jesus, you know, you just could not keep up with these guys. And that, you know, that's what, you know, went through my head when you were telling your story. I was just thinking of that and in my head going, if this old boy can do it, surely I can.
Well, and so I am the obsessive compulsive, right? I mean, I am the perfectionist in the end, that I openly tell everybody that's ever wanted to work for me. I try and talk them out of it, right? I'm like, you know, are you sure? Are you really sure you want to do this? Because you'll get an email from me at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're not sure if I just woke up or I haven't gone to bed yet. And it's going to be, why did we do this way? Right?
Yeah.
Not that I'm even questioning it. It could be better than the process that we had in place.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody will get that email of, why did we make a change from our current process to this process? And what was the thought process behind making that change? And not good or bad or whatever, but I've sat across from people and I actually size them up. And I think you have to. You're a basketball fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know who John Wooten is?
No.
Oh, man. You'll love John Wooten. Coach, college coach. Way back when. What was it, UCLA or... Anyways, he was the coach when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in college.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And every year he would say, if you miss a practice, you miss the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You never got to miss a single practice. And every year he would bring in everybody. And the first practice was, this is how you tie your shoes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now he had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at the time, as this prodigy that still to this day is one of the best basketball players to ever play the game. And Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but Lou Alcindor at that point in time had the discipline that he never missed the first practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because he understood that it was just as important to reinforce the fact that this is how you tie your shoes.
Yeah.
But if you look that up, I mean, John Wooten is one of my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just a guy that said, here's the process. And I'm going to go, you know, today we're going to teach you how to tie your shoes. And then tomorrow we're going to teach you how to dribble a basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait, I'm in college, coach. I've dribbled a basketball how many times before? But you didn't do it my way.
Yeah.
Right? And he's still one of the winningest coaches in college basketball ever.
Yeah.
I think you'll really appreciate some of his stuff. I mean, if you look at like some of the stuff with uh, John Wooten or Phil Jackson, and just some of their process.
Phil Jackson, I know who he is. But I think, see, even guys like that, old school guys, and the ways of working, that's long gone from today's market. I think there's, certain things that you probably can't do to people, or say to people, or stuff like that. I think there's a lot of snowflakes around nowadays who are saying, you're not talking to me like that, or, or you're not going to be, I'm not having this, or I'm going to cry off, or whatever. I think it's a different era, if you like. You look at all these guys, the basketball, everyone will have watched, what's it called, with Michael Jordan and stuff. The thing that was on Netflix recently. Oh,
yeah, I haven't seen it. I know which one you're talking about.
It's amazing, by the way. But you see all those guys, Scottie Pippen, and all of these kind of guys that were playing for Chicago Bulls. They were all just crazy nutcases, but they were, like what you said, obsessive, compulsive winners. I mean, they were alcoholics and they done some badass shit as well. But, I think they just don't make these guys the same anymore, like mentality-wise.
I call it the Robin Williams effect. You remember comedian Robin Williams?
Yeah. Mrs. Doubtfire.
His best material was while he was a drug addict, high on cocaine, Mork and Mindy. And I mean, he was a nut job. Right? when he finally decided to become sober, he wasn't as funny anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was hilarious because he was on drugs.
Really? I didn't know that. Him and Gene Wilder, fuck me, legends.
Richard Pryor was, he was high as a kite all the time. Jeez. But I tell everybody that work is my drug. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I mean, for me, work is my addiction.
Yeah.
Which is probably not the best thing either. You know what I mean? But I guess my point is you're going to have to put in sweat equity. It's, I see a lot of these people on Facebook, and you've seen me on like Facebook and different social media where I just absolutely abuse these people that, make a claim, they're taking a picture in front of somebody else's Ferrari and putting it on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the people that are driving a Ferrari, I pick on them equally too, because I'm like, when your clients see that, you're driving that Ferrari, they're going to think that they're paying you too much.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of missteps there, I guess. But yeah, I got to watch that Michael Jordan thing, man. I heard a whole bunch of negative, like John Sally, I think, and some other people were talking bad about it.
Man, I loved it. I've got to say, I personally loved it, and I think it's a great story for any kind of, even a younger person watching that, just the mentality, what went on, what was said, these guys, they're just a different beast. And, I've got an attraction to guys like, Michael Jordan or winners. I love Muhammad Ali. I love watching his videos, the way he talks. I mean, these guys are fucking nuts. If you want to say that, they're as crazy as they come, but they're just winners, man, just winning mentality, and they do not give a fuck. And they're probably just obsessed at what they do.
Sure.
And do you know what? I think, the world does, as I say, just doesn't make characters like that. Are not the same anymore. There's just too many pussies, snowflakes, and general bullshit getting flung around now. And, in sport and business, everywhere it's the same. There's just a lot of stuff.
Did I ever share with you about the LinkedIn article that I wrote about use?
No.
So I wrote an article, I want to say it was about 6 years ago. I think the name of the article was, are you a you, EWE, or a me?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest, I think, criticisms that I receive is that I'm so dismissive, because I tell people I have one of two buckets. You're either in this bucket or you're in that bucket. In this bucket, which is a very small, there's a very small amount of apples in that bucket. Those are the people I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
The other bucket, the U's, EWE, is a U is a female sheep, right? So EWE stands for expectation without effort.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am quick to put people in that bucket of U's, right?
Yeah.
As soon as they point themselves out to me, and they might start off in the good bucket, but as soon as they point out themselves that, they want mailbox money, they don't want to actually put in any effort, but they want to get a paycheck, they're over here.
Yeah.
Don't want to know you. I'll still smile and shake your hand and do whatever, but I'm not going to waste my time with that person.
Nah.
And I think that's what the Michael Jordans of the world did, right?
Yeah.
They literally said, hey, your toe hurt and you couldn't show up for the game today. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Fuck off. Don't come back.
And Michael Jordan was one of my favorite basketball players growing up. I mean, I watched him and Pippen, and I mean, I could tell you most of the people on that team to this day when he played for the Bulls, but and their numbers. I can still remember what numbers they wore. But going back to the whole Michael Jordan thing, when he showed up to a game, in my mind, right, never having had a conversation with the guy, not really knowing, I always saw his mindset was, well, I'm here, so I may as well win.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this anyway, so I may as well just win.
Yeah. And why think about it any other way, though? Like, why would a human being think, otherwise? That's my opinion anyway. You just, but always want to win. I think everyone should have that mentality. Like even for me, I want to crush. Like, I have a joke with Matt Diggity in TikTok. I want to fucking crush him, beat him at everything. It's all done with a good humor. But I think everyone in life has to have an inner desire to fucking kill it, like, at what they're doing. And I think there's something wrong with you if you don't. Like, I just couldn't imagine going out and going, I'm going to be half-assed at this. Like, when I set out to be an SEO speaker, if you like, I always looked at it going, these guys are the fucking big dogs. And then I looked at it going, these guys are full of fucking shit. Why can I not be on that stage? Why can I not be seen as the fucking big dog on that stage? And I done it. I've spoken some of the biggest conferences in the world, not because I'm Brains of Britain or anything like that. I made it fucking happen by hook or by crook. I had that desire to say, that after that agency shit and all that, I want to be the best affiliate marketer. I want to speak in all these conferences. I want to fucking go to Vegas and chill out with people and talk and fucking get fucked up with people and all of that stuff. And I've done it. I've done it. I put my money where my mouth is. I've put my balls on the table and said, I'm having some of this. And, I think anyone to go out there half-heartedly doing it is just a fucking joker. And, I would be very similar to you in saying, I don't want to be associating myself with losers and loser mentality, or people always saying, oh, Bradley, I'm skint this week. I can't afford this and fuck that. I want people who can just afford shit and do things and winning mentality. Like you say to me, Craig, the CPAP machine thing, try this mask, try that mask. I just went and bought it. Like, there's no fucking around. And I think life should be like that. You just got to, if you've got something wrong with you, attack it. Don't, or if you want to be something, go fucking do it. What is stopping anyone from doing anything in life? Really? Nothing.
Are you doing SEO mastery? Are you doing that one coming up?
Who's running that one?
Mad Singer Sorensen.
Oh yeah. I'm doing that one. It's on in November. We're recording it in a few weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm doing that one.
It's kind of interesting because I popped my head up one day and I was like, okay, I guess I should interact with my industry. And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, do you want to speak about at this or that? And I'm like, well, okay, I guess, right? What do you want me to talk about? I mean, I actually have something really cool I think really cool for that conference that's coming up, and I'm going to talk about crawl budget manipulation.
Yeah.
And how to game Google's crawl budget for a website. So I've been working on that. And, the conferences are kind of cool. I mean, they're not really, they're as long as I don't have to be around Neil Patel, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think you're right. I mean, I've listened to some of these other people, and you realize that, and that's part of why I did this channel, is because we did SEO spring training, and we did all of these other ones, and I'm looking at some of the stuff that some of the people are talking about. I'm like, you are so full of shit, dude. And we went in after SEO spring training. I'm not going to talk about specific speakers, but I have this mastermind group that I talk to once a week, and we started testing all of these things, right? And you would be amazed at how many people that are like these big names, and this is how you do this and everything else. We would go through and test their process and prove that it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. A year ago, I looked up to this person as being somebody knowledgeable in the industry. And that's why I started the Agency Hacker website and all this other stuff, because I'm like, I'm just going to cut through the garbage.
Yeah.
And give people tools of, here's this, here's that, and use it, don't use it. If it works for you, great, but just throw the wand away. And I'm not going to call people out. I mean, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of people in our industry that are looking for $1,000 a month course, or $1,000 or $500 or $100 a month or whatever it is. And I just don't see the value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's one thing I would like to emphasize to people that are maybe going to watch this video, and whether it's now or in the future. One key thing about SEO, not just necessarily running an agency, be very fucking careful who you're listening to. Be very careful, because in my experience, I probably know of probably about 30 guys worldwide that I genuinely believe know what they're doing. And that counts, America and all over the place. There's not even 20 people in the UK that I don't know everyone in the UK, but from the people I do know who are high profile and stuff like that, you're just like, fuck me. That is astounding to believe that you're getting away with saying this stuff. And I think I spent so much time, probably similar to you, believing a lot of this stuff and going round in circles until you actually test. So test everything that anyone says, even me. Test what I'm saying. Like when I do videos, or I do a case study, or I'm talking about click-through rate manipulation, most of my videos, I'll show you what the fuck I'm doing, and I'll tell you the formula, and you can go away and check the results. And I think that is what you need to do, though. Test. Because it worked for me this month, and you watch this in 3 months' time, that might no longer work, and you'll be wasting your time doing that. So
the perfect example I'll give of that, and I openly pick on this company all the time, and I pick on their competitor too, but HubSpot. Right? So HubSpot, way back when we were agency partners with them, all of this other stuff, and it was, HubSpot, and this is this, and this works, and blah, blah, blah. And I sat back and I realized that I was drinking their Kool-Aid. And I literally felt like I was, they call them hugs. I mean, everything from a marketing perspective is just so vomit worthy, right? Yeah. HubSpot user groups is a hug. They would have these hug meetings in different cities, right? So we can all get along, get together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and whatever they're going to do, right? But actually, it wasn't HubSpot that caused the trigger. It was Marketo that caused the trigger, that caused me to look back at HubSpot and question their stuff, because I saw something from a person who I just respect. I used to, back in my corporate days, I worked with this person. She's a wonderful person. And she made a comment on LinkedIn about Marketo and their omni-channel communication system. Okay. And I was like, whoa, hold back the truck up. I said, omni-channel communication system. Oh yeah, Marketo uses it. I said, no, they don't. They use a multi-channel communication system, not an omni-channel communication system. Do you understand the difference?
Not really. If I'm being honest.
I'll explain this because after I explain this to you, you're gonna. I mean, literally, your head's gonna explode, Craig. Okay, no shit. Multi-channel allows me to take one definitive piece of whatever it is and push out and disseminate that to multiple sources. So HubSpot does that. You can do social media sharing. You can do that with Marketo. You can do that with Hootsuite. You can do that with all of these companies, right? All of these SaaS platforms. That allows information to be pushed out.
Yeah.
That's multi-channel. However, omni-channel sounds cooler, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a cooler term. So all of these companies now, omni-channel communication allows me to push information out and then get information back that causes physical change.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a push-pull system. Multi-channel is all out.
Yeah.
Omni-channel allows me, and so physical inventory with like a point-of-sale system, if somebody orders from the website, it deducts that inventory item from my digital warehouse.
Yeah.
And if somebody buys it at the local store, it also takes it off of the website as being available. That's omni-channel, so it's a push-pull. Okay, so all these marketing automation companies started changing all of their verbiage from multi-channel to omni-channel because it sounded cooler.
Yeah, but they don't they don't actually do it, do they?
No. There's only 3 companies that actually create a point-of-sale system that has a true omni-channel solution. So Marketo started picking up omni-channel, and then HubSpot followed behind them and said, our system is omni-channel, blah, blah, blah. And I called their bluff, and I said, you guys are full of shit. Okay. And I literally went nuts on them. I said, you guys are full of shit. Show me where you're actually drawing in information. Well, we use smart CTAs and blah, blah, blah. So you're getting information, but that doesn't cause it may cause a change in what you're offering, but you're never pulling that in, and it's not making physical changes over here. So it's only a multi-channel solution.
Yeah.
Now that I just told you that, Craig, you're going to start seeing the term omni-channel being used all over the place.
Yeah. I actually seen it last night. I was, believe it or not, looking at the people that you just mentioned there, HubSpot. I don't know why. I always just have this horrible thing to want to. I tested it, and I've got automation. My whole automation thing. I've got like ManyChat, and I've got Active Campaign, and I've got this whole cluster of shit. And I keep always wanting to go back to something that does everything that you suggest, just from a marketing automation point of view. And I always keep getting back to HubSpot, and then I keep seeing when you Google HubSpot, you see HubSpot alternatives, and you see all the ads. And I was having a look around, and that was one of the words, omni-channel, that I kept seeing on the paid ads. And I never actually really dug any deeper to understand what omni-channel and multi-channel actually meant, and whether these guys would be full of shit.
Physical change. That's the key, is physical change. It has to be able to receive information that causes physical change in order for it to be an omni-channel solution.
Yeah. No, that makes sense when you explain it like that. I had no fucking clue, to be honest. But
literally, now that I said that, Craig, you're going to see in all these social media groups, you're going to start seeing omni-channel. It literally, it'll drive you nuts. You'll be like, shut the hell up. It's a multi-channel solution, right?
I'll get put in Facebook jail. I'm going to end up fucking calling everyone out.
I have 21 more days in Facebook jail myself, so yeah, 21 more.
It's madness, but it is what it is. But
we in a good spot, man. It's like 10:30 your time, isn't it? 9?
Nah, it's only 20 past 9, so
20 past 9.
Yeah. So it's not that late.
Any other nuggets that you want to share? I think we did good for a first.
Good. any other nuggets, just outsource the shit out of everything. Like, just outsource everything, every last thing you can do that you can't be fucked doing, or you find that you're shit at. Don't try and do it. You know, I've tried to be a web designer. I've tried to be the content writer. I've tried to be the pay-per-click guy. Just fucking, if you're crap at it, just get someone else to do it. Time is money. Yeah, but other than that, you know, as I say, I've made every mistake you've probably made, and then some, and not scared to admit it. And, you know, if I can ever help any of the audience ever, you know, you want to bounce a question off me or whatever, what do you think of this, or what would you have done in this situation? Listen, I've had more failures than I've had success stories. And more than happy to advise people, you know, even if it is something basic like, Craig, I'm now at that stage where you were talking about, you know, I'm creating Word document invoices and it's fucking around with my time. I've spent the last 3 days doing it. Come to me, man, I'll point in the right direction. Just work smart. You know, the difference now between now and then, there wasn't as much automation. There wasn't as much, you know, videos and help that there is. Now there's a lot more help, so you can do this stuff a hell of a lot quicker than Bradley or I have ever done. You know, we have literally been wet behind the ears, standing there like, you know, I'm an SEO guy, so what? Like,
here's my shoe boxes to the accountant full of invoices, right?
Absolutely horrendous. And I think, you know, one day I may even write a book or make a story about it, because some of the stuff that I've done, some of the people that I've hired, some of the shit that I've told customers, you know, I could write a book of comedy gold, with just some of the absolute BS that has went on in agency life with me. And, you know, you can't kid a kidder. We've all done it. We've all.
I've been in the process of writing a book for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you what the title is going to be when it's ever done. I literally have all of the artwork done. I have all of it done. And it's just a matter of finishing it at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's called Sales is a Contact Sport.
Yep.
If you're never going to make the contact, you're never going to get the sale. And it's the most simplistic, like, who moved my cheese format. Here's what you do day one. Here's what you do day two. And, you know, I think it's going to piss a lot of people off, because in the end, when it's done, I'm going to sell it for $1. Buy it off of Amazon, like ebook, $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And go after it.
Why the fuck not? I think it's good to be able to also. I've actually released a couple of ebooks recently on Amazon, just to see what the process was like. They're just a couple of shitty ebooks, but I think one day I would really like to write a good book with the stories and obviously deliver a lot of good actionable tips alongside some humor and, you know, some of the crazy characters and everything else that we come across in this industry, because it's brilliant. Absolutely. But it's been a brilliant journey.
Have you had any engagement with your ebooks? I'm going to share a secret.
Nah, not a huge amount, to be honest. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. The books are really shitty. Now, the books are. I just wanted to understand what was involved in getting this publicized, and the reason that I've done this, I'd done a private blog network course. I'd done a big blog post about it, all of that shit. And one of the books is about the private blog network course. I basically just copied and pasted it from my website, fucked it in Amazon, and you know, made up some shitty ass cover and fucking published it as a book for 99 pence or whatever it is, and called it the private blog network book. And I just wanted to see what the process was like, and you know, was there any crazy stuff to becoming an Amazon publisher? But the real reason I've done it is, see, if you publish an Amazon book, you get that author profile, which is a do follow link from Amazon.
Yep.
So that was my reason for doing it, and that's why I published such a shit ass book. But I've actually done two now. But So it was done from the link building point of view. And I just wanted to fuck around and see if that shit worked because someone told me it did, and it did. But I will write a proper book one day.
I'll share with you. I think everybody needs to write a book at some point, right? Just to say that they've done it. I don't know, anybody in business. But my girlfriend is extremely competitive. Okay, extremely competitive. And we actually had a competition similar to yours and Diggity's, which, we decided to do this like community garage sale type thing. And my girlfriend reads books all the time. And that's a whole different story. But I mean, she reads probably 2 books a week religiously. And so we have all of these books. And so we had this competition, and I was like, okay, it's like a 2-day garage sale type thing. I said, what do you want to sell? And she said, well, I'm going to sell these books because, knowledge is power and blah, 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 and all this other crazy stuff. I said, okay. I said, whoever, because we didn't really need the money. It was just a competition, So I said, all right. I said, I'm going to counter that with DVDs because nobody really owns DVDs anymore. And, whoever makes the most money, the other person has to buy them dinner or some goofy crap, right?
Yeah.
So her table is books, my table is DVDs. And I don't care if I'm giving them away. I'm like, here's $1 the first day and whatever's left is 50 cents each the next day. I don't care. She never sold a single book. And that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were, college books, for $1. Nobody reads anymore.
Yeah. See, I'm not a big reader. I'll be honest. I fucking hate reading.
But you consume a lot of content. You read a lot of content every week. My dad actually challenged me and he said, when was the last time you read a good book? I said, I read volumes of content every week.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this article, that article, this, I'm looking at all of these different things. And I would actually challenge you on the statement that you probably read more than the average reader.
I mean, I probably do. I probably do read. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do read the odd blog post and I read up and shit. And, when we're learning SEO things, something new tool comes out, you've got to go and read up on stuff and understand how it works. But in terms of a personal preference, in terms of absorbing that content, I much prefer watching a video and over-the-shoulder stuff. That's the point I'm trying to make is I just can't be fucked sitting there with a book going. Obviously, reading a website or flicking about in your phone is not necessarily what I would call reading a book as such. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I probably still read a hell of a lot more than the average Joe because it is like, what's the new link building tool or what the hell is Bradley saying about, this thing or that thing? And not everyone's doing videos. So yeah, you're probably right on that.
So when was the last time you bought a book?
Probably about 6 years ago. The only books I've ever read, I read an SEO book years ago, a book called The Art of SEO from a guy called Stefan Spencer. He's an American dude. And the only other ones I've ever read over and above that were life stories of guys that I like footballers and shit like that. What do you call them books again? Not a documentary. What's the word for that? The biography thing, the book that tells a life story and stuff. So there's a few guys I've bought that from, but other than that, honest to God, I don't read books, man. I hate books.
And that's another carrot, right? So one of the things that everybody who's just starting an agency is they're reading, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And I see these posts on social media all the time, what book are you reading? Who Moved My Cheese? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll always push them out, good to great, etc. But I think that some of the time that people are spending when they start an agency is in the wrong area because they've got this Amway cult mentality thing in their mind that they have to read about somebody else's successes and somehow that'll just happen for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know how, I did the or Good to Great. I did Who Moved My Cheese, Tipping Point, all of these things. And then one day I actually realized that none of those books were actually causing me to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to read about a guy's success story and how he fucking made $1 million? Not doing anything for my pocket, man. I need someone to be putting some money in my pocket now.
Sure.
So that's the kind of book. And I would much rather read a book about someone saying, "Here's how you put money in your pocket," how how you sell some of this SEO shit, or how to bullshit your way into SEO or some shit like that. That's kind of books that you should be reading, not these crazy ass books. I think there's too many of these books out talking one lot of absolute bullshit. And as I say, that's why I've always just kind of stuck to reading books from like guys that I look up to, like sportsmen and various people. But I don't want to hear anyone else's success story. I want to fucking know how they done it. And I think you're right. A lot of people are not telling you what's to be done. They're telling you how fucking good they are and how big their ego is, and missing out a lot of the actionable tips and advice that we need to be able to say, right, I need this software, I need this, and I need to automate some of that shit, and and I might be onto something, but yeah,
I think it's spot on. I mean, and that's why I asked you how many of those ebooks you've sold, because from a link value standpoint, it's wonderful, but actually writing a book, that's why I've never finished. I just do Squirrely. I think it's called Squirrely. Otter. It's an app for your phone, and I decide to do a chapter, and I talk into my phone, and then it transcribes it to text, and I do that every once in a while, and someday it'll be done, and then I'll get my Amazon author link.
Yeah, or just publish a fucking shit-ass post and get it quicker.
You're stealing, but you're giving away what's going to be a future episode about how to get a link from Amazon.
Yeah.
Anyways, it'll be a good preview. We'll go through the whole process at some point. But thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all right. Well, I think we should call it quits, man. And I think we've given everybody some good material, and you got a little boy to spend the evening with, right?
Yes, I'm going to go and see him now. Nearly bedtime.
Is he done with chickenpox?
Yeah, he's all good now, man. Took about 2 weeks to get rid of that shit, but horrible situation, that chickenpox stuff. I've had it myself at 16 years old, and disgusting.
Yeah. It's tough as a parent, because when you see your kid, you can't do anything for him.
That's the painful thing. You're just looking at him and he's agitated, and you're just like, fuck. I wish I could take it for him, but it's good in a way that he's had it and he's got it out the way. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it quits right here. I appreciate you coming on the show. You're the first interview, man.
Pleasure, man. A pleasure. Thank you very much for asking me.
Nick's almost beat you to the punch.
Nick who?
Nick's Lee.
Oh, Nick Lee. Fuck him. Nah, lovely guy.
I was talking to him last night, and I was like, hey, let's do an episode and talk about agency stuff and everything else. And they're all going to be a similar format, right? Of here's some of the mistakes I made or whatever. But Nick's almost beat you. We were going to do one this morning, but he never got back to me. So
I'm going to remind Nick's of that right now. And I beat him to the punch again. Nick's is a great guy. It'll be a great episode. So good luck when you get a hold of him.
Yeah, my joke, though, is literally, I don't know if you saw this on Stephen Kang's post about podcasts. I said, well, I listen to podcasts at speed 1.5. But then I watched your podcast with you and Nick's, and with your Scottish accent and his Asian accent, trying to listen to that at 1.5, I needed like some serious ibuprofen at the end of watching that. Right.
Yeah, that was a bad combo.
It was fun though until you try listening to it at 1.5.
Man, I will have to now that you said that. So
you play it backwards. It's like the Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Fucking hell. One other thing, by the way, I keep getting these Asian guys, right? and I'm not sure that's not. It can go in your show anyway. It doesn't matter. So I get these Asian guys saying, "Craig, I fucking love your content, but can you not put subtitles on?" Have you ever tried subtitles watching a podcast of mine? It will read some weird ass shit. By the way, it will fucking honestly. When this goes live or whatever on YouTube, is it live on YouTube just now?
No, I record everything just in case somebody knows or
when you put it on there, put subtitles on for fun, and honest to God, it will be a comedy show. What comes out of YouTube's subtitles. Someone actually done this in a online pub quiz, and the quiz was, what is Craig going to say next according to YouTube subtitles? So there was this podcast of me talking, they took snippets of this podcast, and it was just saying some random shit like, this guy was wearing his pajamas and stuff like that, when I wasn't even talking about someone's pajamas, but the subtitles was making me sound like some sleazy pervert or some shit like that. So that's something else.
It reminds me of that guy from Scotland that plays the jokes on the Americans here. Have you watched that?
Do you know his name?
I don't know, but if you type in Meemaws Minge. Meemaws Minge.
Oh, right. Meemaws Minge.
He goes around and he convinces Americans to say the most ridiculous stuff.
Marty in America.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the video just now. Teaching my American mate Scottish words. I'll have a watch. I've never seen it, but these things are funny.
It's hilarious. You should do a reaction video and record yourself watching that.
Yeah.
It's hilarious for an American, because we all know what minge means.
Yeah.
Well, they don't.
Yeah.
And so he convinces them that it means something good, like pot pie or shepherd's pie or something like that. And then he convinces them to call his mother in Scotland and talk about how great her minge is.
Yeah, that could be my bedtime viewing tonight. I'll have a look.
That's almost as good as the Brad and Jen videos. Have you seen those?
No, man.
Oh my God, Brad Holmes. He's from the UK.
Brad Holmes.
How can you
split? Fucking hell.
How can you? I mean, the UK voted Jen like the dumbest person in the UK last year.
To be honest, man, if it's not SEO related, I don't watch it. I'll have a look at that as well.
The Brad and Jen videos are hilarious. And it's all an act. I mean, I know it's all an act, but because nobody could actually be that dumb. But the one about chicken, something about she bought like 2,500 pounds of chicken. 2,500 pounds of chicken, and they delivered it to her apartment. And she was, or I don't even remember, but it's so hilarious to watch. The one about why kangaroos are racist. So Jen's convinced that kangaroos are racist because they won't migrate from Australia to the UK.
Some people are fucking thick as shit.
You'll just laugh. I mean, you'll laugh until you hurt. Your sides will hurt from laughter.
I'm surprised I've never fucking heard of this shit, but I'll have a look at both and see if they're as funny as you make out, for sure.
Oh, I have a warped sense of humor, so if you don't find that hilarious, I'd be very surprised.
Man, there's a show, right? There's this show, and I'll bugger off after this, but you'll know this show. What's the show, The Office? Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, a little bit. I think a couple of.
So there's an American version, there's a UK version, and people keep saying, Craig, man, The Office is the funniest thing ever. And I watch it, man. I just don't find that guy funny at all. I just think it's just bullshit humor.
I kind of felt the same way, which is why I didn't watch it.
And people are like, Craig, there's something wrong with you if you don't find this funny. And I'm like, I'm a bit weird, you know. I've got a weird sense of humor, but yeah, some shit I find really funny, and other shit I'm just like, this is garbage.
Oh, these are just short videos that will literally, you'll be like, how can anybody be that stupid?
Yeah, I like that. I'm a slapstick and stupid shit I'm into, so I'll definitely have a look and give you feedback.
Jen decides in one video that she's going to go on the donut diet, and she's going to like dip down, and because the donuts are on the floor and she has to work and, you know, dip down to get them, that she's actually losing more calories.
Oh man. Who's feeding her? I take it the other guy, Brad, is telling her this shit and she just falls for it. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, some of it, actually, one of the videos that he did, I was like, how did he do that? Because he tricks that's his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and then his dad. He plays terrible tricks on it. I mean, the one with super glue on the toilet paper.
Oh man.
He glued the toilet paper to his ass.
Oh man. That cannot be good.
But the one with pizza, right? And I'll tell you the synopsis because I won't even ruin it for you. He asks her, he's like, okay, so you order a large pizza. Would you rather have them cut it into 8 slices or 12, and why? And she said, well, 8, because I can't eat 12 pieces of pizza. He's like, okay, let me ask you this again. Right? It's the same pizza.
The thing for me is, are these people fucking acting up there, or is this fucking legit? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
Well, I think it's all an act, but they convinced somebody in the UK actually voted Jen, the girlfriend, like the dumbest person in the UK. It was either last year or the year before, like one of the magazines.
I'll have that. I'll have a look at that tonight, for sure.
Yeah, let me know what you think.
I will do.
Are we in a good spot? Were we successful?
Yes, all good.
Let's call it quits and do another episode later with some different stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always happy to jump on. So yeah, let me know if you want me on in the future. But I better go because my little guy is shouting and making a lot of noise. So I think he's going through his crazy phase before he falls the hell asleep. So I'll go and see him before he goes to sleep.
I appreciate you. I appreciate having you on, and give Nick some shit about being the first interview.
Yeah, I will do. I'll do that as well later on.
Thanks.
Cheers. See you later. Bye-bye.